You're listening to This Week in Real Estate with your host, Rob Golfi. Brought to you by the Golfi Team at RE/MAX Escarpment, featuring Conrad Zarini, broker-owner of RE/MAX Escarpment Realty Inc., and Brian Hogben, owner of Mission 35 Mortgages. Let's hear what's going on in real estate this week.
What is going on? We had a week off. I was away up north in Brian's territory.
Yeah.
So you've got a cottage in, is it Halliburton?
Yeah, it's just outside. It's a place called Dysart. It's about 10 minutes from Halliburton. Beautiful area.
Awesome. So yeah. I've driven by there. I haven't been there, but I was in Gravenhurst, and I'm telling you, gorgeous area, and it's not too far from, I guess, Lake Rosso and Lake Joseph. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong or right. The way the market's been going, and I still think the Cottage Country, which they're not cottages, they're multi-million-dollar homes. I feel right now is a great time to buy a cottage and flip it for maybe $300,000 to $1 million more, especially on the high end. If you can leverage $5 to $10 million. I know it's a big number. But what you do is you buy something this fall, close on it in January or February, and then relist it, especially the high-end stuff. Like super wealthy people, they don't care if they pay $500,000 or $1 million, $2 million more for a property. As long as they get what they want, they will pay for it if you buy the right property. Am I correct about that, guys, or am I wrong?
I think you're right. The one thing I've seen being up in Cottage Country right now is your costs are exorbitantly higher right now, right? Because and especially I think the workforce is a little bit different up there. Not to stereotype anybody, but they don't live to work or work to live. Everybody's a bit different, right? But like I had a guy quote me for steps, Rob. I don't have one of these big cottages. I wanted some rock steps. Okay.
Yeah.
$25,000 for about 10 rock steps. I'm like, I think I'm gonna wait a year. Just to see.
Listen, I'll get you'll get the rocks from the list. Your own.
Yeah. So I can only, but I would say in my area, and my area is not as prestigious as the Rosso, right? But everybody's renovating. There's excavators. Mm-hmm. Everybody's doing something up there right now. There's a guy on my lake building a mini Deerhurst. It's like, okay, you won the award. He's building the 20,000 10-car garage cottage. But to your point, there must be a market.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, those guys that got into it too and found out exactly what Brian just found out and how expensive it is. And they're going to get out of it at the end of the season. It just wasn't, they weren't cut up for it, right?
Conrad, have you been up to, what's his name? Schneiders Cottage. Have you ever been there? Walter Schneider?
No, I've only seen it from the water side, but my parents have been down and I have a lot of friends that have been there. Yeah.
I heard it's spectacular. He's on Lake Joseph. Yeah, he's on Lake Joseph. Yeah. So so guys like that are building and who knows how long it took him to build this massive
years. Like we're talking 6-7 years. Yeah.
It's incredible. Now, these people's mega millionaire cottages, I mean, they're more expensive than the houses they live in locally. Am I correct? Yeah. So are they using that as their permanent residence, or like because I mean, for capital gains reasons and stuff like that, are they saying, hey, well, I'm going to make this as my personal residence because my capital gains is going to be far greater there, so I'll get the tax-free benefit from there, and then turn their resident that they live locally as their income, like not income, but as their other property. Is that, I don't know, tax reasons, Conrad, but is that possible?
Yeah, that would be something people would be doing. But you know what's funny? It's a U.S. phenomenon, right? Especially in the U.S. In the U.S., they have these mega encampments, like cottages and waterfront properties that are probably 5 to 10 times the size of their homes. Like they almost think it's kind of gauche to have a big house. But you have the lakefront, the lakefront piece is going to be like pretty heavy duty and there's some with ballrooms and things like that. So the family used it as like that was the thing to do, right? And then your home was more modest. So it's a U.S. phenomenon that's coming to Canada, right?
Yeah. And all that income tax, all the interest is deductible in the States then too. So it's actually, they consider it
they get two properties.
Yeah. Because they're deducting interest. Yeah.
That's it. So Brian, how long have you've owned your cottage for? A long time?
It'll be a year in October, 12 months. So I was the guy who went up there and bought under the crazy spell. Like, Rob, I got into a big fight with Wendy because I actually drove up there without her, and it was in competition.
Oh, you had to
put in an offer with the realtor, and I had to come home and say, honey, I bought a cottage. She's like, what? I haven't even seen it.
Oh, you want to know something? I just heard a story like that this past week where a guy had to make a decision. It was $11 million, and he was having, he had to make a decision to buy it without his wife seeing it, and it was, there was a lot beside it too, and he couldn't sleep for 2 weeks after he bought it. He's like, he goes, he didn't know what he did, but he's actually happy. But $11 million, the guy was like having a heart attack, and he did the same thing you did, but it was $11 million.
I would have a heart attack. I wouldn't let Wendy come up until I painted it and renovated. I said, you're not allowed to see it because I want to make sure you love this place, or I'm never going to hear the end of it.
Love you, man, so much. Unbelievable. So yeah, we were up in Gravenhurst, my wife and I, with a bunch of friends, and we had a great time. We had a boat out there. We rented Airbnb, like, I don't know, must have been a 4,000 square foot cottage. But listen, I know we got a short time here. I want to talk about one thing: reopening of the borders. I like it's kind of slightly opened up. It's not 100%. Is that going to affect our market increase with real estate values? Like, are like the border's been shut pretty well, like immigration and everything else that's going to happen. Are we going to see another boom next year? Nobody's answering.
Yeah, like, look, there's all indicators are there. We're going to jump in on this one. But you know what's interesting about the American thing? Because you're talking American border. A lot of the Americans have sold a lot of their stuff in Ridgeway and things like that in Crystal Beach. So it's not as it's a lot of Canadians that have bought there, to have recreational property. So a lot of the Americans disposed of it, especially in the last year because they couldn't even come here. So they were really hesitant to buy anything here. But you're talking open the borders for immigration, like internationally, it's going to be something, like something we've never seen in our lives. Even with the, they're talking about a foreign buyer tax, like global, like for all of Canada.
They were saying Canadian immigration goals. The Canadian immigration goals call for 401 permanent residents this year, reaching 1.2 million by 2023. Dates aren't specific, and COVID-19 will continue to delay things. So as we're delaying, like if people are being held off coming in, even though they're being accepted, we're gonna have another boom.
Well, you know what? A number a lot of people aren't talking about on this is two things. So you've got immigration, but you also got permanent residents, like PRs for international students. And then you also have net new Canadians. And net new Canadian is the birth rate minus the death rate. So that actually increases the population size as well, too. So that number, I've seen studies, it's not even at 400,000. It actually brings it up to closer to 600,000 per year. And I know we talked about home starts and home completions before. Like, it pales in comparison. It is going to drive it, in my eyes, in my opinion. It's a massive shortage. It's a lot bigger shortage than just the immigration.
My opinion,
that's 200,000 households, right? Yeah, that's new households. Like, that's household creation. You're talking at least 200,000. So where are the units going to come from?
and builders, the new home builds are not able to keep up to the demand. Yeah. I truly feel right now, it's September, the end of September, we're coming into October. Buy a house now, because next year, February, March, April, it'll be worth probably 5 to 8% more. 5 to 8% more. So if you're listening, call the Golfi team. And if you're getting a mortgage, call Mission 35, mission35.com. And if you're looking to become a realtor, talk to Conrad. Little plug there. So, okay, now listen, the big news here. Canada plans to increase credit access for the country riskiest borrows in the years to come. Brian,
does this mean
that that's going to increase more people able to afford to buy. It's another thing. Like they're trying to afford affordable housing, but now they're just making it more expensive.
It's cool to see the pendulum swing the other way. I've been in this industry for long enough. It's always been taken away policy on lending, and now they're giving it. It's ironic. But another rule that they didn't talk about in this is all the banks up their sliding scale. A sliding scale is properties over $1 million. So before, some of these banks had a rule is if you're over $1 million, you had to put down 20% on the first $1 million, then 50% over and above. So if you had a $2 million property, you were putting down 500, you're putting down 700 grand. Now you can go 80% on 2 million. So that brings it up to 1.6. So that to me is a big signal saying the bank's totally comfortable with high leverage right now. They are, go have at it. And now with the insurance company, like you say, bringing their threshold up to 1.25, it's like they're risk mitigators. And they're the ones saying, let's do this. Let's drive up the market. It
will drive up the market. So now that $1 million to $2 million mark is going to be easier for people to afford. Like you're going to get a couple that earns maybe between let's say $180,000 a year combined income or $200,000 a year combined income. They can afford a lot more now than ever before because they don't need as much money down. They just say, hey, let's just buy this.
Yeah, saving it from it was on the $1.25 million purchase price. The down payment goes from 250 grand to 100 grand. That's 150,000 that a first time buyer doesn't have to come up with now, right? And if they're with inflation, like I heard in August, inflation's over 4% now. So wages are going crazy. So that first time buyer, couple with big incomes, 100 grand, you're in a $1.2 million house now.
Now, has this taken effect now already?
No, not yet. The one thing that's always funny about these articles is like, I see this and then I'm like, does CMHC know yet that they're doing this? Has anybody told them that they're doing
it?
We're getting a lot of requests for this new program. Who started this?
Yeah, could you start approving them because it seems to be out there.
Apparently, it's out there. So somebody
needs to know. About CMHC, I had a groundbreaking just recently, and CMHC's they're a funder for this multi-unit res, and because it was an election, nobody from CMHC could come. They're like during the whole election, if there was a groundbreaking, which they would have been at every groundbreaking there was, because they're CMHC funder, but during the election they cannot come to a groundbreaking. That
kidding.
Was interesting. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah,
so they're the last to find out. You're right.
Yeah, we'll get a memo and say they're doing it tomorrow. So I do see that coming out soon because there is a ton of pressure for them to do it. But it is not available today.
Especially in Toronto, like the average sale price is $1 million. So how does anybody but that will boost the average sale price, places like Burlington, Ancaster, Toronto. It's just going to go, it's going to boost it over 1.1 million and to 1.3 million. You're going to see those because now it's an open season to go as high as you want now, just because of the fact people can afford more, because people were probably trying to keep it under $1 million before, right?
Yeah.
So
I
now
think the surrounding areas are going to probably benefit the most. I think they'll probably have the biggest jump in prices because people are in Toronto and they see the price point there, and then they come to just the periphery of Toronto. I think that will really drive. We'll get to that $1.2 million to $1.5 million in short order, but a lot faster than the increases will happen in Toronto.
There's no end in sight with this real estate market. No. I'm going to tell you, there's no end in sight. So, Brian, what are mortgage rates right now? What, like, if somebody walked in today and say, "Listen, I'm closing in 30 days from now," what's
you're getting? You're getting right now. More than almost 60% of people are taking variable rate mortgages right now because of the spread. And if you're buying a primary residence, you're at like 1.4%. 1 point, and it's.
Hey, can you believe that shit?
You know what a fun fact is, which is good, is how much principal people are paying off in the first 5 years of their mortgage now, which is a really cool safety net. The average person is paying off almost 17% of their principal in the first 5 years. If you went back to 1980, it was only 4%. So it's one of those things, because rates are so low, people are hammering down their principal really quick.
People are building equity fast with these interest rates. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, listen, it was great seeing you. Thanks for coming on. And everybody, listen, don't hesitate to call Brian Hogman with Mission 35. Myself, if you're looking at buying or selling, and Conrad Zerini, broker owner, Remax Escarpment and Remax Niagara. Listen, great guy to deal with, great guy to work with. He's definitely a great leader to follow. Guys, have a great weekend. Nice talking to you.
You too.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you. Ciao.